Yeah, hey, drop.
Prime Coverage Sports Network. Real coverage, real conversation.
Hello, welcome in everybody to this first live edition, or truly live edition of the Sports Mayhem Morning Show. I am your host, Andrew Mighty Man Scheid, and with me today is special guest host, Marcus Mack, the co-host of the Unfiltered Sports podcast here on the Prime Coverage Sports Network. How are we doing this morning, Sal? Marcus?
Oh my God, you're killing me, guys.
Still morning.
Yeah, it's all good. I'm doing great. Yeah. You know, it's always nice when I can help out a friend. You joined and filled in for me on many shows, so you know I got to come back and return the favor. Obviously, for those out there, if you don't know, me and Andrew also do a little local radio time or experience of our own little sports department world there in Elgin, Illinois for WRMN 1410 AM. So, you know, I've gotten to know Mr. Andrew Mighty Man Scheid for quite some time, and now we've become a part of Prime Coverage Sports Network. And you know, you reached out to me and to come and join the network, and I just thought that was a fabulous move. And now here we are, sitting now in mayhem, and I'm absolutely loving it. It's an honor to be able to fill in. So I appreciate you letting me come on and talk some sports with you, brother. So what's the word, man? Let's get into this.
You know, being 3 days out from the MLB regular season, I wanted to focus this episode and just go MLB crazy because there's so much talk about going into this upcoming season. But one thing I want to talk about to start off locally for the two of us is the White Sox just signed Reese McGuire to a 1-year, $1.2 million deal. What does this mean for Corey Lee?
Nothing.
Because he played last night.
He's a young player. It means that either they'll let him develop or they'll find a home for him. These decisions are actually quite easy to make. They're not that hard. Really not. I mean, because you're dealing with a young team. This has no big expectations. Nobody is expecting the Sox to even make the playoffs. And
right.
Cal Teal is clearly gonna be the starter when he comes back. He pulled his hamstring in the World Baseball Classic, which is a shame because he was actually playing quite well for Team Italy.
Right. He was.
So he's down. Maybe they just didn't feel confident enough in Corey Lee to be able to hold the load along with Edgar Quero. But at the same time, it also could signal maybe they are looking at it like, hey, this veteran guy is what we need in the backstop end. And like I said, that now makes Corey Lee a little bit expendable because here's the thing. The real young bucks in this situation are Cal Teal and Edgar. Edgar Quero is 22, Cal Teal's 24. Corey Lee's 27 years old. Corey, so you know, I from me looking at it, if I'm Corey Lee as well, it's like, man, I'm about to be 30 soon. I need to be playing in as much baseball as possible for my career at this point. And for the Sox to go out and sign a 31-year-old veteran who's going to be their backup catcher. Let's be honest. Why else would you have brought him in on that 1-year deal? You brought him in so that this veteran could be your back. You didn't bring him so he could be a bullpen catcher. That's for sure.
Right. Oh yeah, that's for sure.
So you'll have to wait and see. We really are. We're gonna have to wait and see how if they send Corey Lee down to the minors, or if they trade. But you do know that this team is not going to carry 4 catchers on their team. So
no, for sure.
And the third catcher is usually just, you know what I mean, like he's there in case of injury. And I don't think you're going to do that to Reese McGuire.
No. No, and here's the thing with the White Sox, and like you said, no one's expecting a postseason run out of the White Sox this year. And tell me how crazy this idea seems, Marcus. It would be crazy for me to see the White Sox have an 81-81 season. I think that's a feasible accomplishment for the White Sox this year.
Yes. I mean, I was talking on this show, great podcast, and they do a YouTube show, really cool guys called Sports Nuts. I appear on their channel every other Wednesday, and so I was there on last Wednesday, just chopping it up with them, and they had a really good guy. He goes by the nickname Seven. Great guy, a really good insider on baseball. And I asked him flat out, I said, Seven, can the Sox win 70 games? And he laughed at me and he mocked it. He, said it was almost are you kidding me type of thing. Like, I don't believe that the White Sox can do that. And I think that is the feeling about the White Sox in general throughout the major league scene. But at the same time, I also think that feeling is going off of something that happened 2 seasons back at this point when the White Sox lost the most games in MLB history. That happened 2 seasons back, man.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, that's the
old,
biggest
that's
thing.
old. That's old news. The Sox almost won 70 games last year. Like they, they really turned it around last year. And so is it unrealistic? Is it unrealistic to believe that not only could they win 70 but 80 games this year? I don't think it's unrealistic from what I've seen so far. Now, mind you, spring training is, you cannot put this, heap of hope and thought and prayer in what you see in spring training, but it is also a good indication. And I'll tell you what, I would rather have guys being hot in spring training than a dude that's cold and looking like he's struggling out there at the plate of spring training going into a season. So, if the Sox are able to take any of the momentum that they've had in spring training and they're able to take that into the season, I think the Sox are going to be formidable. And yeah, I believe that they could win 80 games, but there's also going to be health. It's going to play a big part for a lot of these teams, not just the Sox. If you look around the MLB, the Dodgers have such a vast gap over everyone else.
I've talked about that on this show before.
You know what I mean? That it's like 80 wins. Could it happen? Yeah, but the league is a lot better than people think, is what I'm getting at. It's just that the Dodgers are this big gap of talent. And so, if people get injured, they could just plug in and keep moving, whereas other teams can't afford that for stars, top players on the team to go down, and then they just have another person to plug in. And so the Sox are one of those teams where they have some good players finally, but it's not like they have just a boatload of guys just waiting to step up. So, if health is there with them, if they're pitching, if the health of their pitching and bullpen stays with them, yeah, the Sox can win 80 games.
Yeah, and you just talked about it, and I've talked about it on this show before. People on here know my opinion. Do you think the Dodgers have an unfair advantage in the league right now? Because you just said it, how they're able to plug in just secondary guys that are better than most guys starters. Do you think that's an unfair advantage?
It's completely unfair. The Dodgers alone. So the NBA and the NFL, they share their TV revenue deal with all teams. So every team in the league receives a check. Like, pretty soon, the Las Vegas Raiders are going to receive a check in the mail from the NFL in the amount of $400 million. Every team's going to receive that. The salary cap is $300 million right now. So the NFL is literally paying NFL teams to go out buy their rosters and give them an extra $100 million to spread around for however they want in terms of allocating that money to coaches, GMs, people, staff, however you want to do. Now, that's not mind you. Remember that these franchises are billionaires. So they're the billion-dollar entities that are represented by family names. And sometimes these teams have shareholders as well. So they have outside investment money. So if you got somebody that's on your board and that person himself is a billionaire, but he only owns 10% of the team. Okay. And you come to him and you say, we need an influx. Can you give it? His retort is, now I want 20% of the team. Okay, we'll give you 20% if you kick in an extra $1 billion this year for all these expenses or whatever we want to do, infrastructure costs, and we want to build a new stadium, whatever the case may be. These NFL teams are now able to operate freely because the roster's already paid for.
Right.
So the MLB is not that way. The Dodgers TV deal, the Dodgers make $300 million from their TV deal. The White Sox, who we were just talking about, make $10 million.
Yeah,
how can you compete if for everyone that says, oh, this team doesn't want to spend or that team doesn't want to spend, the Pittsburgh Pirates don't want to spend. The Pittsburgh Pirates can't spend. The Pittsburgh Pirates cannot afford to spend like the LA Dodgers, when the Dodgers know every year they're getting a $300 million check in the mail from their TV deal that they have. That doesn't include selling merchandise, that doesn't include the ticket sales, that doesn't include concessions. This is just strictly their television deal. So who can compete with that? Nobody. And that's why there is going to be a salary cap. It should have been one a long time back. I don't know how these owners set themselves up to fail in such a way that they didn't have this worked out to where everyone was sharing television revenue. But since they couldn't get that part of it worked out, they're going to now turn to the easiest target, and that is making the players have a salary cap. Is that fair to the players? No, but it also needs to be parity in the league. And one team, because they are getting this influx of cash, okay, if you can't stop that, if you can't right that wrong, if you can't figure out a way so that there's revenue share for all teams through TV deals, if that boat has sailed for whatever reason, the MLB can't get that part figured out, then the next part you have to figure out there is how to stop a team from being able to just go out and buy all the best players. And that's really what the salary cap is more than anything. The salary cap isn't meant to hurt the players. And will it hurt the players? Yes and no. It will stop players from getting bloated, ridiculous contracts that a lot of times they don't deserve it. And then you got now the fan base and the pundits like us complaining, saying, why is this guy on this roster making all this money and he's doing very little? And then on top of it, these contracts are guaranteed, these baseball contracts. So even if they let that player go, they still have to pay him. It's not like football where a guy gets cut and now you're not on the hook for that money anymore. Or you're not on the hook for the rest of the contract anymore. You still have to pay him.
Oh yeah, you still have to.
You still have to pay him. You have to pay him his signing bonus. But once that money's gone, once that signing bonus money's gone, the team is no longer on the hook to pay the rest of said contract. They can just cut you and hey, you know what? It was fun. It was fun. We're gonna take the cap hit. And we're gonna move on. And baseball, no, it's not like that, man. You sign a guy, you gotta pay that guy. You can let that guy go if you want. You still gotta pay that guy.
Contract, yeah.
You gotta pay out his contract. Even if you trade him, the team that takes him on has to continue to pay out that contract.
Yeah, I mean that's the big thing with the Dodgers is I think it's completely unfair when they can be so competitive because they're able to go out and say to everyone, "Oh, here's you want this amount of money, here's this. You want this amount of money, here's this." And then everyone's going, "Well, then who's left for the rest of the league?"
Who's
Absolutely
left for the
nobody.
Who's left for the rest of the league? And remember, this also is an issue because I think with the straw that broke the camel's back was uh, the Cal Tucker sign. And the reason why I say that is because everyone has to understand that everyone knew that, yeah, okay, it was the Dodgers could sign him, but it was also a kind of a why. Why are the Dodgers going to sign? Like he should be signing with someone like Toronto or re-signing with the Cubs. But because this guy is a weak leader, and he is, he's a weak leader. He went to go
Okay.
hide. He went to go hide on an all-star roster where, hey, you know what? I can get paid a bunch of money, and if I play good, great. If I don't, it doesn't matter. The team's gonna keep rolling. He wants to hide in a lineup, and that's what that kind of creates as well. The Dodgers are creating this environment where guys can just go hide and hope they win a championship, get paid a bunch of money, hide out in the all-star loaded roster, and get a championship. And I don't, you know what? That's it's. So let's reverse that and put that in the basketball world. So now every player that's seeking a ring, they're just gonna all go find a team that can afford their massive payrolls. And hey, you know what? I don't gotta be the superstar no more. I failed on many levels trying to be the guy, and I can just now go run to this all-star loaded team and just go win championships. What does that sound like, Andrew? Doesn't that sound like a guy named Kevin Durant? And what
Yeah.
wasn't that a problem? Wasn't that a problem in the NBA when he went to the Golden State Warriors, which already had Seth Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, a Hall of Fame coach and Steve Kerr, an amazing bench? Did that make it fair for the rest of the league? So
You
that
know,
was incredibly weak, and that's what the Dodgers are able to create. They're able to foster this environment of incredibly weak behavior and ring chasing from top level guys that should be out on other rosters trying to get theirs with their team. Instead, they're able to just go hide with the Dodgers and hope that another ring is produced while Ohtani and Freddie Freeman and the catcher, God, he was just in the WBC.
Will
Will
Smith.
Smith, Mike Muncy, these guys can do all the heavy lifting, and I can just hang back and get a World Series. I just think that that's garbage, and I think that that's got to stop. And so I know that it's not going to be an easy come to terms. Hopefully, there's not a lockout, and they can find a way. But it's a real problem in the MLB from a person that's looking at it down the road. If
Right.
you're the average fan, you don't even see what's going on.
No,
Like
I mean, yeah, and
you
that
don't
they
even
don't look
realize
at
what's
that.
happening.
They don't look at that. And the last thing I want to say on the Dodgers is if they three-peat this year, I highly suspect there's going to be some type of an investigation, maybe into the front office, something. And that's just my opinion. I'm
Well,
not
no,
saying that's what's
if
going to
they
happen.
three-peat, it's gonna actually submit the owner's argument, and the players are basically going to capitulate. And like I said, they're gonna meet in the middle. But if the Dodgers come three-peat, I think the players, the rest of the league is going to see it and say, hey, do we want to be able to win a World Series? Because I mean, like that's what it comes down to at a certain point. It's like,
It's almost
we
like the
want to.
Chiefs have do we want to be able to rest? And I think that was part of the Chiefs this year is it's just they were tired.
Well, you
They
need
were
parity in the
tired.
league. Here's the thing that I tell people, which makes the NFL so cool, and why Major League Baseball is gonna have the salary cap. Every team in the NFL, every team when they start their season, every team, every fan base believes that, hey, you know what? It could just happen for us. If
Oh, for
everything
sure.
comes together, if the perfect storm, there's not the only team that I feel like that has gone into a season the last couple years just feeling like, hey, we're more than like, and this ain't happening for us. The Jets,
Okay, yeah. Yeah,
uh,
I can see you there, yeah.
the Raiders of late, the Chicago Bears were in that category at one point because everyone knew that their GM was tearing it down to the studs, a complete rebuild. But once you start getting a couple key players, you like, hey, you know what, man, I might just be able to have a chance. And in the MLB, I'm gonna tell you right now, I can look at half of the league and I know they don't have a chance to win a World Series. Like half of the
Right.
league. I mean, like you already know, Colorado Rockies, nope. The Giants, nope. Cincinnati Reds, nope. St. Louis Cardinals, nope. Pittsburgh Pirates, nope. Washington Nationals, nope. Atlanta Braves, nope. Miami Marlins, nope. Seattle Mariners, yes, with their division, Rangers and Houston.
Right.
That's actually one of the toughest divisions in baseball. But the Athletics and the Angels, nope. Twins, nope. Royals, no. White Sox, no. Now we go up to the East. Tampa Bay Rays, I'm going to give them a no. And then now we got the best division in baseball. Well, no, actually, I'm gonna remove Baltimore Orioles from that as well. No, so you only got three teams coming out that's possibly out of the American League East, and that's the same old usual suspects: Red Sox, Yankees, and Blue Jays.
Okay.
So you need to create parity, and you cannot create parity unless stars are spread out throughout the league. It's a darn shame that Pittsburgh has to develop a guy like Paul Skeens, bring him up in their ranks, and then openly know, as soon as this dude's contract is up, we won't even be able to afford him. It's not even that we don't want to keep him. We will literally not be able to afford him. And that's not fair to the Pirates. It's not.
Right.
That's not fair that they have to develop this amazing talent and they can't be able to offer him the max contract. That was something that David Stern figured out back in the 80s with the NBA. That's what made the NBA explode. He realized every team needs to have a superstar. That it drives fan base, but it also gives you a story in every town. Because otherwise, then your city just becomes this boring sports city. That's what hurt a team like the Spurs for so many years when they had Tim Duncan, and Tim Duncan was a Hall of Famer, a superstar, but he was the most boring superstar on the planet, and it made it a difficult follow. It made it a difficult sell, and that's what Major League Baseball has to change. There's no reason that the Miami Marlins should just be completely boring to Colorado. There should be a superstar there, somebody to generate excitement when you're like, okay, even if you don't watch that team, and okay, I'm a Sox fan, but the Sox are playing the Rockies for some reason. I should still be interested in seeing, because it's like, you know what, even if the Sox, sweep the whole series, they should have a guy on that team where I'm like, I want to see what that young boy. Oh yeah, I hear a number of great things about him. And he's the face of the organization, and the organization knows he's going to be there for many years, that he wants to be there, and they can afford him. And I just think that needs to happen. It looks like we got some comments up. I don't know if you want to pull up the comments section, and so that we can see what people chiming in here.
Don't know if I can see anything because I think they are up there.
I'm trying to see if I can look. I should be able to look and see what
Anyway,
this is. But anyway, we'll keep it going.
While you try and figure that out, one team I do want to talk about in this show is, you mentioned them, the New York Yankees, because they always seem, and I've said this before, it's like beating a dead horse, seem to get right to that precipice or get to the World Series and get blown out by the Dodgers or who other have you, or they make it to the championship series and get knocked out there. It's not that the Yankees don't have stars in their team, because they do. What is standing in the Yankees' way? Can they get that World Series win this year? Because I think they're one of the top contenders that could take down the Dodgers.
The Yankees are one of the few teams that have the firepower clearly to do that. But you know, man, oh, that's tough because injury as well. Like I just talked about, they're gonna need to stay healthy. Judge has got to stay healthy for majority of the season. They're gonna definitely need the pitching to come through. Here's the thing: repeating in baseball is very hard. The Dodgers barely pulled it off last season. It wasn't like they, blew the Blue Jays out the water. It took them 7
Right.
games, and man, that was down to the wire the whole way. So yes, the Yankees can beat the Dodgers. Of course, I think that a lot of the top teams can beat the Dodgers in a series because it's baseball. And you could have the most loaded roster in the world. If the bats go cold, and there's nothing you could do about that. And so, yeah, I think any of the top teams can beat the Dodgers. But you want to start with the Yankees? Can the Yankees beat the Dodgers? Yes, they can.
Okay. Okay, because I saw this a lot, and I think it got people upset in the World Baseball Classic Finals. Aaron Judge struck out, I think it was twice looking, and that made people go, "What? That's not Aaron Judge. What's going on?" Is that a precursor to what you're going to see in the regular season? Was that just a one-night thing? Should Yankees fans be worried about seeing that from Judge? Because we normally don't see that out of Aaron Judge.
It was posed that is he clutch? Does he come through in the clutch? He's had some moments with the Yankees where he had some big moments where he's kind of failed and he hasn't won the World Series yet. So I don't know if it's fair. I don't know if it's fair to, to do that to him.
Right.
Because you got to give sometimes guys time. There's some guys like Derek Jeter and, everything just shines on them and they look great. They feel great, and that's awesome. But, there's also guys like Alex Rodriguez where, they struggled for a long time.
Right.
But then after a while it clicked for him and he was able to help lead, the Yankees and be a big part of the winning a World Series where many people considered him a choke artist and he wasn't up for the big game. I think that Judge is too good to look at him that way. I feel like a lot of athletes are not going to always come through in the big moment, and not everyone is going to be able to sink the last shot or hit the big play like a Michael Jordan or like a Derek Jeter. These guys are special. They're elite, and you're talking about the greatest of the greatest. And so for Judge to do that right now, we're saying that he's one of the greatest of all time. If that's our hope, if that's what people want to press upon him, I don't think that that's fair, because just because you are a really good player doesn't mean you're the greatest of the greatest. It just means you are a really good player. I've often analyzed LeBron James' career for many years and how he was compared, and people feel like the need and the necessity to want to compare him to Michael Jordan, but it's also in the biggest moments of his career, we saw many times where LeBron James failed. And,
right.
and where Michael would come through and Michael would hit that big shot. He would make that big play. And so Aaron Judge striking out in the World Baseball Classic is just a moment. I mean, it happened to Mike Trout. Ohtani struck out Mike Trout in 2023, right? Did that diminish Mike Trout? Is Mike Trout not considered one of the best baseball players in the last 15 years? Like he's gonna go in the Hall of Fame without a ring. He's I've heard people put him up there and say that he's one of the most top 20 baseball players of all time. I've heard people talk about this guy like that. And yeah, he's played his whole career with the Angels. Now that's a guy that played a homer role. That's a guy that never tried to lead. So, I mean, as much as we do, get on these, a team like the Dodgers sign, it's also up to the player too if he wants to stay. He don't have to go. And Mike Trout is a perfect example of that.
No, and you're speaking of future Hall of Famers. Speaking of that, one player I want to talk about is Vinny Pasquantino, because a lot of people are saying he could be close to, I'm not saying exactly but close to the next Aaron Judge. And I think it is possible because World Baseball Classic, he went 3 for 4 or 3 for 3 with 3 homers. I mean, how many guys in baseball have done that?
Yeah, but playing in these World Baseball Classic, if you were in the Olympics, that doesn't equate to the regular season. That those are tournament style gameplay, like what we're watching with the NCAA right now.
Right.
That is not indicative of your team, and not always of where you could project a player's career for a season, long term, or even a career. Somebody could play an amazing World Baseball Classic and have the most mediocre career, and you say, well, what happened? It's a different game. It's a tournament for your regular season. There's a different approach, different coaching styles. You have a different team around you. Remember, in baseball, the reason why your best hitter is usually put where he's placed is, one, you want to be able to force a pitcher to have to pitch to him and not pitch around him. So that means you got to have a guy behind him that the pitcher is just as afraid of, so that he's forced to now say, okay, if I walk this guy now, I'm giving another guy a really great opportunity with a dude on base. And so, is he going to have that situation? Is he going to a team where he's got a guy in front of him that could potentially get on base so he can knock said runner in, and a guy behind him so that the pitcher is forced to pitch to him?
I mean, right. And
no, I'm asking you that question. Does he?
Oh. Well, I think it's just he's got to be forced to pitch to him, right?
Right. And if he doesn't have that protection, if he doesn't have those guys around him, the team that he played on in the World Baseball Classic had those guys around him. So, yeah, he's getting pitches that he's going to hit. But if he's got no one behind him, guess what? They're going to pitch around him. They just are. They're not going to give him. They're not going to give him any pitches to hit.
Right. And I think it's up to Kansas City to structure their lineup in a way where that doesn't happen as much. And I'm not saying it's not going to happen at all, but they need to structure the lineup where it's not going to happen as much.
They do have Bobby Witt Jr., who's an amazing talent. So they do have the cupboard's not bare,
Right. Oh, definitely not. If I'm KC, the cupboard's definitely not bare. And my aunt being a Kansas City fan, she knows that for sure. But they just, every team this year is going to have to structure their lineup so certain players don't get touched up or stuff like that. But we were talking about the WBC for a minute. The one thing I didn't see a lot of this year, which actually surprised me, we did see a lot of injuries this year out of the WBC. We saw a couple, like Kyle Teal went down, and so did Seiya Suzuki. And I believe there were a couple that I can't remember. But those were the two notable ones to me that I saw during the WBC. Now, Craig Counsell said for the Cubs, Suzuki will not play opening day. They're not sure if he's going to go on the IL yet or not. What does this mean for Chicago? And on the north side of Chicago, I should say.
Well, it definitely affects their lineup. I was actually talking with Cub insider Blake Cowell. You actually know Blake.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, you got a chance to talk with Blake. Excellent guy that covers the MLB. People should definitely get to know him. Go find him on Twitter slash X. Blake Cowley runs really great insiders for the Cubs information. And I asked him last night. He was posting on X. What would he like the opening lineup to look like? And he responded back and showed me, and I liked his lineup. And he said, it's not a lot of flex. His response with that lineup was, though, it's not a lot of flexibility right now, minus Seiya Suzuki. And I told him right back, I go, you're 100% correct. I go, there's not. I mean, he kind of gives them a lot of flexibility because of the fact that he can play the outfield and he can play DH. So they're able to smooth him around, spell guys, put guys in the DH role if they want to give him a spell on the bench. And now minus him and that power and that pop in that bat, you now have to get another guy to come in and fill that DH role. And now that's taken away from a position out on the field, and now you got to fill that position. So you need two to replace one, and
Right.
that's that's going to affect any lineup. And so yeah, as much as fun as the World Baseball Classic was, this can be the byproduct of it, where it could
Right.
affect the season. So, I mean, are the Cubs going to be affected by the loss of him? I'm pretty sure that their hope is that they're able to weather the storm, but looking at it on paper, no, they are going to be affected by his injury.
I mean, they are. And I don't think he's going to be out for a truly extended period of time. There is one team I want to talk about, and I've talked about this before on the show. I just want to get your opinion on it. The Atlanta Braves are losing Jerickson Profar to the whole season because of a 162-game suspension after failing a performance-enhancing drug test twice. I've said since the beginning, since I've heard that news break, that Atlanta is screwed in this upcoming season. They're going to have to find someone quick to put in that DH spot, in my opinion, and no one is going to be as good as Profar was for them. How does Atlanta combat this scenario? What do they do? What would you do if you were Atlanta?
There's nothing you can do. You've invested in this young man, and you're hoping that when he comes back from the suspension he's learned, he can, return to the level that you expect and hope from him. I mean, baseball is different than any other sport because the fact of a guy can play for a guy baseball career. The average baseball career usually is like 10 plus years. Like
Right.
these guys play for a long time. So when a young guy gets into trouble, if you just write that young guy up, you move on from him. That has come back and bit how many franchises. I mean, I still think the Boston Red Sox regret letting Mookie Betts go to the Dodgers. Like, why? Because you thought you got the best out of him because he was younger, and we were able to win with him, but so he can go somewhere and look at how great he's been with the Dodgers.
Yeah.
So and it's not going to stop anytime soon. So if you walk away from this young player, somebody else is going to grab him. You want that to be the Yankees? You want that to be the Dodgers? Like another team is going to grab this young man, and they're going to get the best out of him. So I think Atlanta, if they're smart, they try to work with him. They try to figure out what the issue is. They try to find out why he has failed these performance-enhancing drug tests now for the second time.
Yep.
What's going on? What is he doing in his life? What's happening in his personal life that these things are happening? And I think they need to work with him, help him address them, and take charge of it so that he can be available and can actually play Major League Baseball, which he clearly is very good at. But you can't do anything if you're sitting at home because you're suspended. And at this point of it, I don't even understand any player. They can get suspended from any league for taking performance-enhancing substances. Like, the league, this is the only thing that these leagues test for anymore. They let these players pretty much have carte blanche. These players are pretty much allowed to go around and use anything. Just about. I mean, I'm not joking about this when I say just about anything, and I'm talking about recreational use.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
Let's not get ahead of ourselves out there, everybody.
they're able to use anything. The leagues used to punish these guys for different substances, recreational substances and consumption. The league does not. No league punishes these guys for any of that anymore. You don't see any of that. So all they ask for them to do is to not take performance enhancing drugs. That's across every league. That's not just MLB.
Right.
That goes for NBA. That goes for NFL. So at this point, if any player, if this is happening to him, an organization has to seriously figure out why do you think you need this? Why do you feel like you need this to be a part of your game? And if it's recovery from injury, which I believe a lot of this is happening to these players. I believe that's why a lot of these players are doing. They're not taking these performance enhancing drugs to try to be faster or stronger or something like that. I think a lot of it is recovery.
Okay.
You got to get to the source of what is the injury, and how can we try to help this player recover from this injury without having to go to that, to resort to that route. Because and that's that is the flip side of it. A lot of people have to understand that these players are using these performance enhancing substances to bounce back, whether they hurt themselves in the weight room, you got up out of the bed in the morning and you sneezed too hard and you pulled your back, and you got to come to your job where you're a professional athlete and you're expected to perform, and what's wrong with you? Oh man, I'm back. I can't even fit. Well, what's going on? It's arthritic. I don't know what to do. You've tried everything. You've done everything. You've seen everybody. You've taken every legal medical injection you possibly can take, and your body just ain't responding. And then somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, I know something that's actually going to work."
Yeah.
You have to really look at it from the other side. I mean, and somebody actually hands you something. They say, "Hey, when you take this, it's gonna go away. All that you're gonna be able to play the game like you know that you can play." I get it. I do. Like I say, I see it from both sides. But players just have to find another way, because this is the only thing that can get them suspended at this point, is doing that.
Right. And one thing I wanted now to talk about, because we are opening day being so close, Marcus, and I had to pull it up here. I want to talk about some of these opening day matchups, and who do you think is going to be winning opening day on some of these matchups?
Opening day.
All right, March 25th, and everyone's talking about this one because it's opening night on Netflix. You got the Yankees versus the Giants. Opening night on Netflix, which first time MLB's been on Netflix. Weird when I heard that one come out. Was not expecting it, but to each their own. Netflix wants to get into more live sports. More power to them.
That one, when I heard about the Netflix thing, I was kind of like, at first I was like, well, now I have Netflix. Love Netflix, so I'm not going to complain if they're putting baseball games on Netflix, because I own Netflix. Now, for the person that doesn't own Netflix, I see that then being a real gripe, But if you already got Netflix, it's like, hey, bring on, the more the merrier, right?
Right.
I think that the Yankees are going to win that. The Giants are still trying to build something again and get themselves back to the baseball prominent top tier, but the Yankees, I just feel like they're gonna take that one for sure, and I'm excited too. I'm sitting there looking at the schedule, because opening day is on Thursday, right?
Yep.
Oh my goodness, I'm already loving some of these games I'm gonna see. It's good to have baseball back, and it's gonna be some excitement. I'll be definitely looking forward to that Arizona Diamondbacks and Dodgers game is going to be on NBC Peacock at 8:30. That should be really good. That Guardians and Mariners game, I probably won't be awake for that. This might be a little too late for my blood, but for those that are going to be awake, you're probably going to get a good treat in that game as well.
Right. People watching the Pirates Mets on the 26th, because Paul Skeens has the ball.
Paul Skeens. And I think that's an
for the
important thing to
Pirates for
watch.
opening day, which do you expect anyone else to have the Buffalo Pirates opening day? Because I don't. Like, do you
Oh well,
expect them to hand the ball to anybody else opening day if
you
you're
knew it was
Pittsburgh?
you knew it wasn't. And this kid, I mean, at this point, if this kid goes out and performs like he performed last year, he's gonna be in like conversations with like Sandy Koufax. So I mean, like, I'm excited just to see that. I'm really excited to see how good this kid really is. And this is what I'm talking about having superstars on every team. It makes you want to see, even if it's not your team. Yeah, I could care less about the Pittsburgh Pirates, but let me tell you something. I'm definitely going to keep my eye on Paul's schemes and how his season is going
Yeah, for
because
sure.
I believe that this kid might be able to be one of the best pitchers of all time.
Oh, without a doubt. Another matchup we got opening day: the Twins versus the Orioles. This one's got my head scratching. This one doesn't tell me that I have a clear shot one way or the other of who's going to win this one.
Both teams should be fighting for the bottom of their division. I don't see anything happening from the Twins, or these are the types of games that you know. This is exactly why I wish that baseball was played either when they waited, pushed the season back, because I think that these are the type of games that are just strictly fair games, and you wish that the weather was better.
Right.
Because at this point, the one nice thing is that both teams are 0-0. And like I said, the one thing you want to create in every franchise fan base, sports pundit base, in that town is that there's hope. There's hope. And the one thing that even though we know the Orioles and the Twins aren't going to go to win a World Series, at least starting the season out, they're both 0-0. Now we're going to fast
Right.
forward this. We're going to fast forward this 3 months later, and both teams got 15 wins, 20 wins or something. Now it takes on a different feel, right? So I wish that
Oh,
these
yeah.
games were played in warmer weather so that the fans could just really come out and have that opening day hope and enjoy a game of baseball where it's not just like, oh well, another game at the park, but it's that excitement. And that's the one thing that opening day gives you, is that excitement, because I've been to Sox games, in July when
Oh,
they
I've been there too. I was,
when they wasn't good and the record wasn't good. And let me tell
yeah.
you something. Yeah, you love being at the ballpark, but at the same time, when you know that the season is done and you still got July, August, and September left of baseball, it could be a hard watch sometimes.
I mean, it is, but this is what I always say: is you're not a true fan of your team if you don't stick by them through the hard years.
Oh no, and that I'm just talking about in terms of that. Hey, it's nice that fans can have that opening day feeling. You're not gonna
Right.
have that 3 months from now.
No,
You're gonna be
no, you're not.
you're gonna still be supporting your team, but you're not gonna have that opening day feeling.
Right.
And that's what opening day provides for everybody, is that hey, everyone's 0-0. Everyone's zero
Right.
zero to start the season, and you know what? I'm watching my team play some baseball. So
Right.
a game like that, like the Twins or the Orioles, like I said, I just wish it was played in warmer weather so
Right.
that the fans could really enjoy it. But actually, I'm looking at they're predicting it's gonna be 74 degrees, so
Right.
fans
That
actually
might
will get
actually work in their
I,
favor.
I that looks really nice. I'm like, oh, cool. I didn't
Now,
realize it was gonna be that warm.
here's a matchup for you. Now, I don't want you to just look at the teams because I'm also going to say the pitching matchup for both these teams. You got the Red Sox versus the Reds, but here you got Garrett Crochet going up against Andrew Abbott.
Yes, two top tier pitchers. That's going to be a good duel. You love a good pitching duel to start the season. And the Red Sox in Boston are kind of, to me, in the same lane. Like Cincinnati, people got to understand they're not as bad as they once were. They've gotten a lot better. They have a really good coach. And
Right.
so if the Cubs and the Brewers are the darlings of the NL Central, the Reds are just somewhere knocking around the door. And I feel the same way about the Boston Red Sox, whereas that the Yankees and the Blue Jays are now the darlings of the AL East. The Red Sox are always knocking around that door. And so That's going to be really. I think this is a really interesting series of two teams to kind of test themselves and see where they stand to open the season, because both teams do have a realistic shot at a wild card spot. I don't know about winning their division,
Right.
but they could definitely find themselves in a wild card battle.
Okay. Now here's a matchup I got. Want your opinion on, because I also want your opinion on one of the starters in this matchup. You got the Tigers and the Padres going up against each other at 4:05 Eastern time on Thursday. Tarek Skubel's got the ball for Detroit. What kind of season do you see Tarek Skubel having?
So Schemes is, 1A, Skubal is 1B. I've heard many pundits, that's insiders have posed the question to GMs, who would you rather have, Skubal or Schemes? And they literally like, don't ask me that question. I can't answer that, because it's like it's like, do you want an apple or do you want an orange?
This is
Which
true.
flavor you want? They're both going to be tasty. They're both going to be tasty. What type of taste do you want? And I believe, in my opinion, Paul Schemes is the top pitcher in Major League right now, and Skubal is right there, number two. And so, as much as I'm expecting Paul Schemes to have a very, I'm projecting historic season, like I said, something on the level of Sandy Koufax. If he's able to go out there and pitch under a 2 ERA back-to-back seasons to start his career, that's something that just doesn't happen. It's very rare. I expect Skubal to push for the Cy Young in the American League. He should be close to 20 wins and dominant. Dominant. Now, pitchers don't pitch 9 innings anymore, 8 innings anymore, nothing like that. But he should be going out every time he pitches and giving you a solid 6. Maybe you can stretch a 7 if he's hot. And that should produce him close to 20 wins. I don't know if he'll get 20 wins. It's a lot harder to get 20-win seasons, especially when starting pitchers don't pitch. Sometimes only 5 innings, 6 innings. Sometimes those wins can be taken away from you by your bullpen cleaning up. But I definitely think he should be close to 20 wins this year with a sub 3 ERA.
Right. I
So
mean, he's going to be one of the
a 2-something ERA.
right. And in my opinion, if he doesn't get an All-Star nod this year, I'm going to be surprised. One game we talked about and you alluded to a little bit is the D-backs and Dodgers game, but I was looking at it a little closer here because I wanted to look at who was starting for this game. The one thing that's shocking me, Marcus, is Ohtani's not the opening day starting pitcher.
Well, why does he
And
need
I
to be?
can't wrap my head explain that to me, because Ohtani's kind of the first guy I would put out there. Now, I'm not a pitching coach.
Did Yamamoto win the MVP for the World Series?
Yes, he did.
Yes, he did. Yamamoto won the MVP for the World Series. So why would you not put your World Series MVP to put the ball in his hand to open the season? Ohtani's a unicorn. Ohtani is special. Ohtani is beautiful. It's like opening a briefcase and it's just gold shining back at you. That's what Ohtani is. Okay. But understand one thing, and people need to hear this. And I'm going to keep it 100 with everyone. Ohtani is a better hitter than he is a pitcher. Him being a pitcher is a luxury. He is a extremely good pitcher. And if he only pitched and he didn't hit, he probably would be put in the anthos of great pitching. But the fact that he is such a dominant force at hitting, I think that it's always more important to focus on that for him. And I think that having him come an opening day starter, I tried to explain this to a Cubs fan, because they were wondering why Matthew Boyd got the baseball instead of Cade Horton. And I'm like, well, why would you have your young guy? Why would you throw him out there on opening day? Opening day is a really big thing. It's not a small thing that you ask of a pitcher. And so I think that if your best pitcher on your team doesn't necessarily have to do opening if your roster's deep enough, or if you just got a guy that you just feel like he's still young, he's still getting his boots wet, and you got another guy that you can lean on, you go that route. And I just think that the Dodgers are so deep and they have such a great rotation that they'd rather let Yamamoto open it up, because guess what? He was the best pitcher in the World Series on their team. And he's probably the best pitcher on their roster, even though Ohtani is excellent. And in a small vacuum, like I said, in a small vacuum,
Right.
if Ohtani didn't bat, would Ohtani be a better pitcher than Yamamoto? Possibly, but here's the difference. Yamamoto doesn't bat.
Right.
Ohtani does.
Pitches. Yeah.
So let Ohtani, opening day, have the bat in his hand and focus strictly on batting, and let Yamamoto pitch.
All right. Now, since we're both White Sox fans, the last series I'll ask you about is the White Sox Brewers. I'm excited for this one. I was first upset, we're opening Milwaukee, but then I remembered, wait, it's a dome stadium, probably going to be a closed roof that afternoon. I'm excited to see what Murakami does for the White Sox. That's my big thing. I would like to see what he does with a full game situation.
Mooney brings a lot of intrigue, but this team, to me, has got a lot of excitement up and down. It's not just Mooney.
Yep.
Mooney's been an added bonus.
Right.
I'm very excited. Like I said, the whole roster. To me, it's got a lot of potential. And I know that there's top teams. Like I said, we're talking about a bottom feeder here. We know the Sox are not going to win a World Series, but they got an exciting team finally back around them. And they have some stars on that roster. And don't forget, they still got a great veteran like Benintendi that's there to help guide these young players as well. I think there's a great test for them to open up against a team like the Brewers that won the Central last year. Even though they had some cuts, they let some guys go. Including their top pitcher Peralta, he went to the Mets. And he'll actually be opening for the Mets instead of the Brewers. I still think that the Brewers are just they're that weird, sneaky team that just finds a way to be pesky and stay competitive. I think that they still will be very competitive against the Cubs in the Central. So I think it's a great matchup for opening day for the White Sox. A nice test.
And it's going to be a nice test. I like that they brought Reese McGuire in now that we've been able to talk about it. He's another veteran presence in there for them with Benintendi. I'm also excited to see what Colson Montgomery does with a full season, because when you can hit 22 bombs with half a season, I want to see what you can do with the full season. One thing in my mind he's going to have to watch is they might know how he hits now. Some of these pitchers might know him a little better, so he's just going to have to calibrate and just be ready for that.
Andrew, but what are we talking about? The protection.
Yeah.
Does he have protection in the lineup now with a guy like Mooney, with a guy like with Lene Sosa? Do they provide now protection for him? I think they do.
I think they do too. And I will say this, I think Mooney's place will be at first base. And I really hope he does well, because correct me if I'm wrong, and it's always been this way to me, Marcus. First base has always been a coveted position for White Sox fans.
It's
guys like Frank Thomas.
Become history.
Yep. It's a big part of our history, so it's just, I think that's why a lot of White Sox fans are looking at him too. He's going to be at first base. He's a Japanese player. And he's also got the moniker Japanese Babe Ruth. So I don't see him hitting 60 home runs in his first MLB season, because there's a lot for him to get ready for, but he is in a hitter-friendly ballpark.
If he carries on the legacy, people got to understand, like, White Sox fans, sports pundits, this is not it's something that's serious. We literally went from Frank Thomas to Paul Konerko to Jose Abreu. That in between that time, so Abreu won what, 2 MVPs or 1 MVP?
I think it was
Frank Thomas.
Yeah,
I think he won 2 MVPs with the White Sox.
Yeah.
I definitely know he won 1.
I definitely know there's one in there.
Frank Thomas, multiple MVP winner. Paul Konerko didn't win an MVP, but he was obviously the heart and soul of the team, and he helped bring home a World Series championship, which I think is more important than any MVP in the
And
world.
just got inducted in the Cactus League Hall of Fame last night. So I mean, that's another thing.
Yeah. So you went through these three guys, and then we went through what we went through with that dude who's now in Milwaukee. Thank God, because he was a disaster dumpster fire.
He wasn't the answer at first base, but I believe that Mooney can be.
Mooney, he's gonna have a lot of interest, excitement, and fanfare because it is a special position, and people are gonna be looking for some special things from him.
Yeah, for sure. I want to thank you, Marcus, for hopping on with me this morning. It was great talking MLB with you. I cannot wait for opening day Thursday. I'm so excited. I'm going to be watching a lot of baseball that day. I'll tell you that much.
I'm sitting. Locked in.
Yep. I want to thank everyone for joining us this morning in the Sports Mayhem morning show here on the Prime Coverage Sports Network. You can find us on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, basically anywhere there's social media. Prime Coverage Sports Network is there.
Don't forget about Spotify. They can go back and rewatch it. You can go back and rewatch our podcast on Spotify. So if you missed anything, you don't want to watch YouTube, you can go listen to the whole episode on Spotify.
This is true. I'm Andrew Mighty Man Scheid. You can find me at my X at Mighty Man 152898. Marcus, where can people find you at?
Oh man, let's look up Marcus Mack. If you want to find me on X, it's real simple. It's at Goat Studio. Goat? What do you mean Goat? Greatest of all time, duh. But yeah, simply GOAT Studio, and I'll come right up. You can also find me on Facebook, Instagram, you name it, man. I'm out there. Just simply Marcus Mack.
All right. I want to thank everyone for joining us here for this special episode and first true live episode of the Sports Mayhem Morning Show. I will see everybody Friday morning. Thank you, Marcus, for coming in with me. I'll see everybody later.
Yeah, hey, drop.
Prime Coverage Sports Network. Real coverage, real conversation.